Yeah. And we have a great guest today, right?
Yeah, I just straight up my brain just stopped working.
What are we doing again? What are we talking about? Are we just chatting? Are we chatting? Are we doing an intro? Or are we introducing our guest?
It was perfect segue. Yeah, we have a really great guest today, or a really great guest. Yeah, a really great. Okay,
really great guest. Yeah.
You're listening to the Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean, American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Welcome back to the Janchi Show. This is one of your hosts, Nathan Nowak, along with Patrick and KJ, and Patrick and KJ. KJ and Patrick, say hi, guys.
Hello.
You're just both staring
Hello.
at me in this like.
Are we doing it? Are we going?
I'm looking up at Liverpool, who are currently playing
Classic.
Porto.
Wow.
So
way to be involved.
All right.
I'm fully engaged in this audio medium, but my visual medium is fully engaged with a video.
I'll edit
I almost
that
said a
out.
video game. It's not even a video game.
Unlike
is the real
KJ
thing.
and his multitasking skills, the rest of us are doing an intro to this podcast called the Janchi Show. Patrick, what does Janchi mean?
Janchi means to celebrate and to feast and to come together and do all of those things with your friends and your family. For us, it means to celebrate our shared identities and heritages and also heritages and also our unique lived experiences, usually with guests and always with some sort of food or drink item. So that's what that means.
You can't say always.
Almost always.
Almost every time.
Didn't have technically. I mean, I guess the reflection technically had coconut water, but it's not like we did the thing.
That's true.
We
and
tried
also
to have
the Stop
item.
Asian Hate one didn't have any food on that one.
Yeah, that's true, because that just felt
Too
too whimsical.
I was too mad.
But in general, we do. And we did have a little live Janchi event where we all met. And that was pretty cool, too. So
we'll never stop talking about it.
Right?
Yeah, it's been...
it's kind of a big deal for us.
Almost exactly a month.
That's why I said we'll never stop talking about it.
We shouldn't.
Until the next
this is year 2 technically, but we should be talking about our year 2 Janchi Live, right?
Nah.
We only have 11 months to plan.
Too far away. I got so much going on right now. I can't even think about that.
We say that, but then we also said we were going to launch some things earlier that we didn't launch because Patrick went off and got married, and then Nathan had to go work. And I got a new job, and it's all
life.
just a lot of life happened.
Adulting.
All at the same time, right after our live show.
This is the first episode
after our
since I got married.
Palooza.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations again. Thanks for sending those photos without me.
Wait, what photos?
I loved that you photoshopped yourself in. That was so
good.
funny.
That was good.
It made me feel a little bit more involved. So
thank you
for laughing
kicking
at
suit.
that.
So you were in it.
That's true.
That was great.
That's probably what I would have worn if I had actually been able to come. So
that's what I'm saying.
I like that. I appreciate that.
It looked like an awesome wedding, though. So yes,
it was a good
Patrick,
time.
again, congrats.
It was a good time.
So how does it feel? I mean, now it's been a couple weeks here.
It's been
1 week since you...
How does it feel?
It feels great. It feels... That was the best day of my life, 100% hands down. It was fantastic day. It was kind of hot. Sorry for the people sitting in the sun.
Oh my gosh, it was super hot.
For dinner. That was... that sucked for them. I'm sorry. But
were you not in the sun?
No, we were in the shade.
Oh yeah, there was just a small
most of the family
was.
got into the shade, but then there was a small 6 table section where people were just directly in the 90-degree heat. And then 1 week later, it's 62, really nice out.
That's the worst.
It's okay. Vitamin D is good for you.
Yeah, we were we didn't have a hashtag for a wedding, but we were doing chill fall day. We were saying that out loud.
Wait, but what
trying
was
to manifest it did not work. That was a photograph thing.
Yeah, it's a photography pose.
Yeah,
because
just to get in tighter, and that was just me co-opting that because I was hilarious. But no, it feels great. It feels honestly The only thing that's really like changed at the moment or feels different is just like the weight of the engagement is gone, because we were engaged for a long time, for 2 years.
Yeah, that's true.
And so during the 2 years, it's like we're pretty much married anyways, because we're going through that life, we're building routines. And now that we are actually married, we're also both in the process of starting new routines and doing new things. So it's like a changing of the seasons. And unfortunately, the season changed 1 week after our marriage. Would have been great if it changed on the day of, but we couldn't get everything. So other than that, it was great.
And one less thing to have to plan and worry about. The stresses of, I'm sure all of that is now off your
And pay for
shoulders.
Yes.
So,
very true.
yeah,
Very true.
And you guys planning on a honeymoon someday soon, or?
Yeah, next summer. Hopefully trying to go somewhere. I won't say where yet.
Oh no,
I've already
but
said
hey,
to a few people, but I
think
won't say
that's
anymore.
smart to wait until next summer too, because of
Yeah. Well,
obvious
she's a
reasons.
teacher as well,
Yeah.
so she's in the mid, like just starting school, like only like a month or so, and 2 months, I guess now. So not enough.
Cool.
It didn't really make sense for her to take a bunch of time off right in the middle of this in the semester. So
Yeah.
she loves her job.
I think I took at least a month before we took our honeymoon, actually, after our wedding. So.
Yep.
But-
Nope. Right back to work.
Yeah.
Back to work. And back to the show, that's what it's all about. We have a really great guest today. James Straker joins us at the _X_adoptee on Instagram. James comes on and gets really vulnerable with us, shares a lot about growing up in a household with a lot of other adoptees. And then when I say he gets really vulnerable, this is a content and trigger warning for everyone out there. He does share, he shares with us his thoughts on suicidal ideation and his own personal experiences with that situation. So for anybody who maybe be listening with their kids and aren't ready for something like this at the moment, you please feel free to skip over that part or to skip this episode for now and come back to it. We have it marked in the show notes, so you can find it there as well, just in case. But just wanted to lay it out there. James got really vulnerable with us, and we had a really, really great conversation with him. So without further ado, roll the clip.
That clip.
Hello, and welcome back to the Janchi Show.
that was so afternoon special.
Hello, and welcome back to the Janchi Show.
I didn't see you there.
We have a very special guest here with us today, James Straker. James, welcome to the
everyone.
show.
Welcome.
Hello, and welcome to the show.
All right. Well, James, really excited to have this conversation with you. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with us. To kick us off, tell us a little bit about your origin story. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what that was like.
Absolutely. Yeah, really happy to be here. Hello, Janchi hosts and Janchi people. I'm learning all the lingo now.
You're picking it up quick.
I like it. I consider myself fledgling Janchi people.
I like that.
I'm liking it, though.
I also consider myself fledgling Janchi people.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So I was born in South Korea. 1969 is the year on my family register. So in May of 1975 is when, September of 1975 is when I was adopted to an American family in Ohio, in Columbus. And at that time, my mom and dad, they were a young married couple. They had a few kids they had 4 kids at that time. So they had a girl, so my sister. And then basically what happened, my dad actually told me they were just having girls. So and my mom, her brother has all girls. They don't have any boys. So they saw, for some reason, they thought they weren't going to have a boy. So that's really my origin story. It's tied into the fact that my uncle had all girls. So that's really, and my parents could see the writing on the wall and they wanted a boy. And so they went, and they had already adopted domestically. I have a sister that's a little younger than me that was a domestic adoptee in Ohio. She's biracial. So, her parents were, one was black, one was white. And so then they decided they had been hearing about Korean adoption and international adoption. and feeling moved to do that. And so, yeah, they went ahead, and I was the first one adopted from Korea. So I was adopted and joined the family. And we ended up adopting more kids from Korea. So I have a brother and a sister also adopted from Holt in Korea. We weren't biologically related, but, now. So all together, 9 kids in my family. I'm the oldest boy. Good Catholic, populating the earth, multiplying, going forth. And we grew up just very, very middle class. My dad was a electrical engineer he graduated from Ohio State, and they grew up in Northwest Ohio. So sort of Cleveland and smaller towns in that area. Like Lima is the biggest town in that area. But they were kids. They were like 70s kids. You know what I'm saying? Like 60s and 70s. And I'm 52 now, so definitely. So my parents' generation, they were definitely, I think, in the church too. They were very devout and Christian and Catholic. And I think in the church too, there was just this whole, Vatican II, now we're going to turn and face the people, and, the nuns aren't going to wear habits, and we're going to, it was just a very, I think there was something in the time, right? So they wanted to adopt internationally. They thought that they could. That just, a lot of reasons for that. So
did they always just want a big family too? Was that, did they ever give reasons why they continued to adopt? And
that's a great question. Yeah. And actually, I asked that too. I basically, later on, I'm able to ask my parents some harder questions, like why, my mom really wanted a big family. It was just sort of her childhood wish. And, as it turns out, me and my dad have talked a lot, I'm not really close to my whole adoptive family right now, but I kind of feel like my dad, he and I are still able to talk, and that's okay for now. I'm kind of just accepted that for myself. Just, okay. I don't want to totally disconnect, although I do kind of want to totally disconnect. I'm like, okay, hey, at least something. So we meet up every once in a while and we'll have a beer, and then we'll, just sort of talk. And I remember asking him about, why, what started all this? And so my mom, it all has to do with my dad's, his whole thing in life was just making my mom happy. Just what I swear. It's like, it sounds so simple, but that is literally, and I see him now and it's still his driving thing. I mean, he's so devoted to her, but, and so that's what she wanted. And so that's what he worked to do, and she really wanted that big family. I think it was, honestly, now as a grown up, as someone who sees my parents not simply as, the superheroes yeah. or idealized figures, I see them as very human figures now, and within the context of my own weaknesses and understanding. And, and my mom really was looking like her family that was her redemption arc, her way of manifesting what she wanted in the world, because, well, to be frank, her father, he wasn't the most nurturing, or even kind of nurturing, or even sort of nurturing. He was very abusive, in terms of, physically and also emotionally. And so really, I think that's the why. And that helped me understand, that helped me to understand things. Yeah. Even my dad, it's kind of weird. We talked about it. He's like, he even has told us kids, we had too many kids. We couldn't pay attention to them all, and I know, Nathan, it's so
I have
true.
3 kids, so yeah, I was right. 3, so
I have
can't
2.
Even imagine 9.
I have 2. And believe me, all of us kids that have grown up out of this, not, we have 1, 2. There's none of us went out and said, "I see you're 9 and I will raise you." None of us were. So, so growing up in Ohio, things were happy. I really was happy as a child. When I first came here, it wasn't an act. I was genuinely freaking excited to be American. That's all I. It's funny in my mind. Even as I'm saying it, I want to say this sentence. That's all I ever wanted to be was American. But I know that that's not true, because I was adopted when I was like between 5 and 6. So there's a whole lot of living there that I had no conception of America, I'm sure. But that's how deeply when for me, when I came over here, even my dad commented on it that I had one mission, and that was to be American. I just wanted to be American. I wanted to comb my hair like my dad. I'll put I don't care if I'm 7, I need Brill cream. I need that greasy Stein.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody give me my comb.
That's right. Come on. Pretty soon I'll be shaving with that, But yeah, I just wanted to be American, and I remember, so, and gosh darn it, I did my best, and I really worked hard to be American, to learn the language, to do this. And, it's just part of growing up and just being, and I was happy. Our childhood was good as a family. But as things entered into my adolescent years, the family, a lot of those issues that my mom maybe had unresolved, well, you can postpone these things, but I think in life you're going to face it. Even you got to face it at some point. And it came up during, like, when I was about 13, and when all of us kids were sort of, hitting adolescence, and it was a chaotic time to begin with, much less these are a lot of adopted kids going through all this stuff. So it was very, very chaotic. It wasn't stable. It wasn't. And so that sort of set me off on another trajectory, of just not really knowing who I was. And I spent, it's really sad. I spent like about from 13 to 33, like, so 20 years, sort of just aimless, purposeless, sort of half alive, sort of, and but then of course I'm sitting here, so there was a whole healing that happened, probably early 30s.
So I'm curious, James, just kind of listening and summing up where we're at in your story. Okay, so you were adopted between 5 and 6.
Right.
To Cleveland, and have strong memories. You said, wanted to be an American. That amongst probably the 80 other things that you wanted to be as a 5-year-old boy,
right,
American was high on the list.
Right. Evel Knievel was my second.
That's amazing. So you're adopted and you live into being American. What did that look like for you in those early years? And then, you said that the things changed right as you kind of hit a teenager, which, like, I know that things changing when you're a teenager sounds cliche, but also, like, it can be pretty weighty, right, and nuanced. Right. So I'm curious, I mean, you talk about the sense of aimlessness, so where were you going? And then where did you end up in this sort of wilderness period?
So when I say aimless, so my parents didn't really talk to me about college and things like that. My friend joined the Navy, and he sent the recruiter to my house, and I will always just be like, dude, but I was gullible, but he did, so I joined the Navy, and still to this day, like, I have to watch out because I'm still the very gullible type, I take people at their word, and like people are like, and so when I'm in like those high pressure sales situations, I fold so badly.
You buy the TV.
I will do it. You're right. I need that ground of, I like, so I know myself. I don't even put myself in those situations, but back then, so he's, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if I wanted to college. My older sister had gone to college. She had done really great in school and got a scholarship. And I wasn't that good of a student. My thing in high school was just listen to music. All I did was listen to music, work at Wendy's to make money, and go to concerts. That's all I did. There was, and
zero corner cutting for James.
Corner, right. It was just, man, I just like, so I just listened to music. Music was my thing when I was young. And so, so in terms of that, like, just that aimless, so I went to the Navy. I got trained. I went to boot camp. I came back. It wasn't what you call active duty. It was reserves. So I came back. it's like the Navy light. I came back. I would do my I was accepted into a program through the Navy for allied health for laboratory technology. So it was like a health field, and honestly, I had never heard of this thing until this recruiter had brought it to my house and told me I should do it. So, but it was good. I mean, ultimately, I went to school, and I didn't end up doing that job, but just going to school, learning is good. And I ended up getting hooked up in the Chinese restaurant, like a company of friends that were Chinese. And then, dude, I just did that for years and years. I just helped them in their restaurants. I would work as a waiter. I would work as a manager, this or that. And really, the only reason was because it was something to do. I made money. It supported me. There were, it was there. Like half of the time, the options that I choose are, well, which ones are there? It's not the ones that take development, sort of say, especially as I was young, So I guess in terms of a career, I had no aspirations. I didn't really, I mean, I was struggling with just basic living, honestly, basic sort of optimistic outlook on life. So that's what aimlessness looked like, just sort of going through the motions, but, and then years and then days and months and then years, but yeah.
So I really resonate with that because, a lot of your story I see in my own story of taking 20 years to really find myself and being very, when you say aimless, I completely resonate with that because that's what I've been for a long time. Working jobs when they are there, not because I'm developing in that, but just because I have the opportunity to go and do that. And not really just ever knowing kind of what it was that I was going to do and finding myself at very low points that really contributed to that aimless, lost feeling. And then over the past year now, have begun to start that healing. And you talked about, having to take that 20 years of wandering to approach a point where you could start healing. And so I'm on the start of this, and you've now been going through this. So I'm wondering, how did that start for you? You said it was like 33 or something when you hit 30. How did that start for you? What was that step?
Okay, so just timeline. I think I have a sister that lives in Northern California in Santa Rosa area, so Sonoma County, like north of Bay Area. And so I was out there, I was working, and I just got to a really low place. I mean, super low, like where basically I had decided this is it. I'm gonna, so plan out something, we definitely probably need some trigger warnings on this conversation so I was definitely planning suicide. I was about 33. Pretty serious about it this time. I had tried before in the past, but this time felt different. It just felt more calm. I think we've heard that like when people talk about suicidal ideation or this or that, like the ones that are like just super calm or not upset or that's when you got to kind of worry. And I that's where I was. I was very methodical. I had a friend who had a gun, I was over his house. I just took it. I put stuff in my backpack. Pretty much got rid of my wallet, my ID, all I wanted was a one-way bus ticket, BART ticket down to San Francisco. I didn't want to do anything in the area where I lived because I didn't want to. I just wanted to go somewhere where I'd be a nobody, So I went, and it really, there's a whole story behind that night, but really I got to my lowest point. I actually was at that moment where I basically wandered around San Francisco all day, just sort of, contemplating what I'm about to do. Night falls, and that's kind of what I'm waiting for is just nighttime for some reason. And then I have this idea that now it's time. I'm over in Japantown. I don't know if you guys have ever been to San Francisco, but I just found some place where I was overlooking some traffic and stuff. And I had the gun. I pulled it out of my backpack. And I just had this idea, like, okay, what if I pull the trigger and doesn't fire? Like, I can't do it. Like, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I have to make sure that this thing is going to work. So I literally fire it right in front of me into the grass in front of me. And it was so loud. It was so loud. that was that, but it really was. It was thank whomever, wherever, that it was loud enough. But that, and I think this also goes into the type of person I am. I'm very much an extrovert. Like I take my energy in from the outside. Like I'm very much, I love art, visual arts. I don't know if you guys, like, I play guitar.
Wow,
music was
I've never
my thing.
heard extrovert energy and art used in the same sentence like that. That is amazing. And I'm going to ponder that for days.
Yeah, that KJ, actually, that I learned that too. I used to think that introvert and extrovert just meant like outgoing or reserved. It just means, where do you get your energy? And for me, I've always been getting my energy from the outside, extroverted. I've always been, and that's why I get distracted. Like, I go to the refrigerator, all the shit I see, I don't even know why I'm there anymore, because I get my energy from the outside. So I have to guard from distractions. But so anyway, back to this moment, this huge gunshot, which if you've ever heard a gunshot, like any sound, it has a beginning where there's like this attack, it swells, and then it decays. And when it decays, and it's gone. And in that moment, call it grace, call it ancestors, or, I just realized that became a perfect metaphor for what my life would be if I actually went through with this. It would be here one moment and nothing to indicate that I was ever here to begin with. And just that was enough. Now, so that was enough to make me realize that, okay, I can't do this. I can't do this. Oh, another part of it is, it was so loud. I was sure, there'd be people running out, or car, what's going on, or call police, and sure enough, there's a police car comes rolling up. It takes a turn, goes down the street, and literally nothing happened. And it was the absurdity of that moment, that sort of just slapped my face and said, this is you. This would be you. Here one moment and gone another. Nothing accomplished, nothing gained, nothing gained, and that's so 20 years ago, closely, that's how it started, Patrick. And then, but of course, it's not like you go from that realization to, like, kicking your heels and, skipping down the yellow brick road.
Interesting.
So it was tough.
Where do I get some red flats?
Yeah. So that was a tough morning, because I didn't have any money now,
Right, one-way ticket.
Exactly. So I kind of like begged a quarter, and then I just called. And it's funny, I had met a friend. In part of my wanderings around, I had run across this place that was teaching this type of Buddhist meditation. It was called Vipassana, and it was in North Fork, California. And when I was in California, so I went down there and visited one time to learn. And they give free lessons, like 10-day silent retreat. 10 days, you don't even talk. You eat all the vegetarian food and you learn this. And it's very intense. Like, retreat is very misleading because it's very, very strenuous in terms of mentally and bodily too, because you're sitting for long periods of times and things like that. But I had happened to be there one time volunteering. So even after one of the classes, I ended up staying and living there for a while, just volunteering, cooking, and helping maintain the properties and facilitate the classes. So one time I had met this Benedictine monk who was there learning, and he didn't look like the priest that I knew from growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like he looked like some crazy dude from like an old movie or something. Like he just had this giant beard and he was super old, but he had this light in his eyes, like you've never seen before. Like it just, and so I remember talking to him, and we both were, because I was raised Catholic, and I was, of course, very intrigued by the fact that there's a Catholic priest here, and what are you doing here? And then he's all, what are you doing here? And I'm all, but anyway, it was fun. But we ended up hitting it really off, and just kind of like interested, and said, hey, well, let's keep in touch. And he went his way, I went mine. But on that morning, he was the only person that I could think of that would be able to help me. and to understand. And so I called him, collect. And as soon as I kind of told him what was going on, my sad story, he let me know. He says, "Okay, just hold on. I'll be right there." And so he drove from Sonoma to San Francisco. I mean, this dude was like old already at that time. So, and then he had a hermitage in Sonoma, California. So, and I remember I walked all the way to Grand Central Station, in San Francisco. I just like fell asleep. And the next thing I know, I felt someone nudging me, and I opened my eyes, and it was him. And, I swear, I like almost one of the, just so happy to see somebody like it's just in that moment. And so, and really, he didn't judge. He just was, "What do you need?" And I just, okay, but then we drove up to his hermitage, which is still there. He's passed on, but he's left it in trust to a group of other monks. And it's called Sky Farm. And it's just to me, it's one of the most meaningful places in terms of my own journey, because so that's how it all happened. And he was a Catholic priest. Our relationship wasn't like really priestly or, like my son or this or that. He was just but he was a very father-like figure, if I think of that now. He very, very much was. Very much like a mentor, a spiritual guide kind of person. And at that time, I don't identify as Christian anymore. But again, if it takes 20 years to get out of Christianity was so put into me, like from the second, even before I got to my adoptive family, Christianity is the framework in which all of this is happening.
By the time the wheels of the plane hit the tarmac, you were like, "Oh, I'm Christian now."
I was singing the Kyrie eleison in English.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So exactly. So it was so, and so at that time I started really saying, okay. It was a very humbling moment, Patrick, because it was like, okay, everything I thought was true is false. Because I had rejected religion when I was about 13. I was, no, man, no, this is, it was half some sort of intellectual, moral sort of reason, half just laziness. I don't want to go to church. I just want to stay home and watch TV, but I just stopped at young. But then realizing that I hadn't just, in terms of abandonment as an adoptee, having to face the fact that like I kind of thought that God had abandoned me, but really kind of think I had abandoned any idea of God or any desire for God. And again, like just as a human, as a person, as a me, James, I that moment was everything you think is foolishness. And what are you going to do about it right now? Oh man, that was a tough moment. So it happened to be like right before Easter and all that and Holy Week. So, and what his habit was to do was to go up to this other monastery and just spend Holy Week up there. And so I went with him. And I was starting to see that, and from my vantage point, my experience, I was starting to understand that, like, okay, I asked for help from God, and okay, I kind of have to acknowledge that I got some help here,
How much closer can you get than a monk?
Right. And so I was like, I can't just ignore this. I have to. And so that's kind of like what a lot of that was. And also very much seeing it in the context of my adoptee journey of these are the, I know very well what brought me to that point and what it is. And so so it felt like an answer to prayer. And it also felt like, how do you say that? Like I almost felt compelled to follow wherever this was leading me, and at that time I still was, I wanted to believe in Christ. I wanted to be a Christian. I still had a sense of that as my path. I don't anymore, which is okay. And I'm still so thankful for that part of my path. And so anyway, I ended up joining that monastery, Patrick, and staying there.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Because I'm curious. I mean, there's a part of me, like the very nerdy Christian part of me, that's like, oh man, monastery living for a while would be cool. And so, and I think that there is, there's a natural rhythm that comes with the daily offices, and there's a natural rhythm that comes with just the rule of life that you kind of accept as you walk into a monastery. Like, this is how I'm going to be, and these are the things that and every monastery has kind of their own trait for how they're going to live, and so it's a collection of people who just say, this is the way, like, we all agree this is the way that we're going to live and the way that we want to do life, right? So and I think that it's really interesting, and that leads me to the question that I really love that we get to ask, which is, why do you want to come on the show? What are you most passionate about? So when we think about, from your story, you had this clear goal of hilariously being an American and a marine biologist, which I don't know about either of my co-hosts, but like, I also had those dreams as a young boy. I was like, it'd be so good to be a marine biologist. I just want to swim with dolphins. I don't know what it is about, like, but apparently across multiple generations, marine biology is like the jam for little kids, and then we grow up and you're like, nah, I can't do that.
That is so funny.
Yeah, that's really funny. So you do that, and then have this clear sense of like who you are, or like who you're working to be, and then along with that realization that all teenagers go through of like, oh, dip, I'm my own person. Also, you have a lot of trauma that you have to work through, right? That sends you into this wilderness period, and get to a pretty dark and isolated place, right? That it's the double whammy of not just dark but isolated. And I think that there is a real sense of, I was curious what aimlessness means, because I think there are a lot of people in the world who can feel like they are aimless and not be aimless presenting, right? And that's like so. That why you wake up with your quarter life or midlife crisis, or whatever age your crisis happens,
right?
As you realize at some point, oh shoot, all this time I feel like I've wasted. So you get reunited with this Benedictine monk. You spend time in a monastery, and then flash forward to this thing that I would love to hear you talk about, which is your journey into and process and building a stronger, more robust adoptee community. So tell us about, obviously community plays a big role, really a life-saving role in your story. I'm curious, what's the impetus behind your project? What's it called? Just tell us all the details.
So for me, it really came out of what I discovered in the monastery was that my deepest want was to be a father, a husband, to have a family. And really seeing that if I would have said yes to that monastic vocation, it would have been choosing the second best thing. And to me, that's a tragedy in life. Life is
absolutely
like it's almost, in my mind, it's worse than choosing the worst thing, because it's like, dude, it was like the second, like all you had to like. So
yeah, no Olympian wants a silver medal. They're okay with bronze, but the silver medal, you're like, I was this close.
It's this close. Yeah, you're right. So I felt like at that moment in my life, I felt like, okay, nothing wrong with being a monk, nothing, super amazing about being a father, this or that. But if this is what I want, I think God is communicating to me that it's okay. And so I left the monastery and then just continued to work in California. And then, the most amazing thing happened is that just through circumstances, I met my wife at that time. I ended up visiting Korea with a friend of my sister's whose mom was Korean, and she was going to Korea. And so she took me along, and she heard that I was adopted and had never been to Korea. And so she was like, hey, I'm going to Korea. Do you think you can come? And I was like, God, that would be amazing. Of course, the idea of going to Korea was always something that I wanted, but, just to go over there without knowing the language, without knowing anybody. And here somebody was saying, hey, so again, it was like another, like, oh, wow, look at this. Look at what's in front of me now, kind of thing, and just observing. Going to Korea was life-changing. Getting married, of course, goes without saying. Patrick, I don't even know how you're doing this. I don't even know how you're doing this, and then you're going to be married. Like, dude, I would not be doing a podcast if I was about to be married. I'd be like crazy. I'd be crazy in my head.
I mean,
so, but
I never said that I wasn't, but I won't say that I am.
Yeah, he's very normal presenting.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that, KJ. He's doing very good at presenting right now. So yeah, but and it really came from recovering that connection, and also, like, I have to say, just the love of my wife and family. I mean, I'm not even here. This is all just a moot kind of thing. So, but really, with that love, with that support, with the community that I've been finding, I've totally forgot one of the most important things about like what happened, Patrick, is while I was at the monastery was that gathering in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
The big one.
In 99?
And I got permission to go to that. So I went to that.
So in my gathering of Korean adoptees for the listeners.
Oh,
I got to go to that.
I don't know my history, so
yeah, I was like,
I know some history. I don't know like our history.
99 is what?
Yeah, 99. Yeah.
And that was, I had never experienced anything like that. Being, I don't know if I ever connected with anyone, much less an adoptee, in a deeper sort of way that was so effortless. It was just so, just being around people, walking, just being there, just seeing all these beautiful faces and realizing this is a part of, I'm a part of this and this, and that's kind of where it led me, is just, wow, this community is really amazing. And, at that time it was also known as, I really have to say how big of a role they played in me. Cause I was stuck in a monastery in Northern California. All I had was a little computer with Netscape, and I did the thing we do, Korean Adoptee, and it's done. It's done.
Ask Jeeves.
Right, Jeeves.
Jeeves, tell me about Korean Adoptees.
Right, Jeeves. Jeeves, Harry Holt. Yeah, what you got on him?
I have two questions. Did the gathering in DC spark more of your interest to go back to Korea, or and connect with other Korean adoptees?
James nods his head vigorously.
Absolutely, Nathan. The gathering it was just first having a feeling of connection to other people, and other people's experiences. I didn't have to explain myself so much. Like we all know the playing field that we all know the air that we breathe, the water that we swim. That was so nice in and of itself. And then, I definitely wanted to go to Korea. I just didn't know, I think a lot of people were like, I will someday, but who knows? It's kind of, but then it did present itself. I did go, and I ended up moving there from 01 to 04. My son was born there.
So follow-up question to that then, when you went to Korea, having been there the early ages of, up to 5 years old, was there any familiarity when you went back from that moment? Did you feel just reconnected? Did you feel, what was going through your mind, I guess, when you got off the plane?
That's what I had hoped, but no. Mm-hmm. No, I felt like a complete tourist. I didn't understand a thing. There were no memories, no smells. There, the stuff in the movies that you hope, it didn't happen. But it still felt good. It still felt. So that didn't happen. But what did happen, though, is just all the senses take in just the vibration of that place, the ground, the land, the history, everything about it. And that happens. So it's so good. It's just so good. But it also is very. It's challenging too. It has its challenges. Especially for us as Korean. The funniest word in adoptee community, Koreans.
Yeah.
But. And I find that, like, for me, I really would recommend going to Korea for every Korean adoptee, and actually every international adoptee. I really try to make it back to your country of origin. It's just you just can't even put into words. Like, it's just it's beyond words. Just there's a connection. there's just a vibration, I think, that's important. That's important. And there's also maybe a sense of, I don't know, when you make it back as a grown up, maybe you just have this feeling of, I don't know. I definitely had a feeling of sort of like empowerment. Like, you know, okay, I had no choice when I left, but I'm a grown man. I came here. You know what I mean? It's like, it gave me a sense of agency. It gave me a sense of,
agency is a great word.
Yeah.
I went back in 2017 for the first time, and it was definitely, I've been to other countries. I've been to Thailand, been to China. Sorry, not flexing.
I've done my fair share.
I was gonna say, you've been to tons of places.
I've been to
I'm talking like Springfield.
Asian
I'm talking
countries.
Dallas. I'm talking Indiana.
But when I did go to Korea, I did feel that it was a different vibe. It's not just on top of my family, biological family being there in the airport welcoming me.
Wow.
It was there was other things about it. Just looking, I felt like I was taking in everything outside of that from the city. The
I think what it is it's the first time in our life that, I mean, did you feel like you belong there?
In a way, it was. I wouldn't say belong, but it was a more of a connection than a tourist, I guess.
Right. There was certainly a maybe a sense of belonging that wasn't experienced here, you know, in America, just on this land, in this time space. But going to that time space is now there's a different sense.
Yeah.
And it's funny how sometimes the most, you know, like if we don't talk, no one's gonna think anything of us as we're walking down.
Right.
If we're in the department store or waiting in line at the, you know, for the subway,
a big American flag or something like that.
Right. Unless, you know, right. Unless, you know, unless you're, you know, dressed
clearly and like
clearly. Well, you got your red, you know, Make America Great hat.
Dressed American.
Yeah. You just walk on with a MAGA hat.
Okay.
Yikes. No, you could step onto the Korean soil and be like, this land is my land. This land is my land.
Man.
This land is my land. And not have to worry about like the indigenous peoples, because you are the indigenous peoples.
This is true. You could actually sing that song, like, because that song, it took on a sinister tone when I learned indigenous history.
Right. No.
And we're passing out land that doesn't even belong to us, right? Like, I literally went into the bakery, stole all the cupcakes, and was like, "Hey, everyone, have a cupcake!" You know.
I think there is kind of a unique, like, cognitive and emotional dissonance going to Korea, because like your heart and your brain both are like, I'm from here. This is like, these are my roots. But then also your heart and your brain are like, also I'm American, and I like,
this is so
you know,
foreign to me. At the same time,
it's foreign, but also like you get back to America, and I think that you're like, I am grateful to be back here because this is also my home. But then you know what I mean? Like it is such a weird third space that we live in.
Like a liminal. It's a liminal. It's a very liminal aspect of our reality, of our identities, as, you know, sort of tethered to these two countries, these two lands.
So what pushed you to move there then in 2001?
I had taken a couple trips prior to that with she's now my aunt. And we just visited for like several weeks at a time. But then, you know, and then it really was all about just a deepening relationship with my wife, and was soon to be, you know, at that time, just, you know, my friend. But as we got, you know, so we would keep writing and talking to each other. And then when I would come over, of course, we'd plan things together. And so finally we just got to the point where we, you know, we're like, we wanted to be together. And so moved there, and then that's really what it was. And so it's funny, like me and my wife talk about it, that it was really just a setup. Like her emo basically just like did that matchmaking thing, like for real. Like, so we even say, like, it's not so much God's will, it was our emo's will that we're together.
Maybe it's both and.
Yeah, both and.
She is God. Who knows?
Hey, you know, I put a lot of. I wouldn't. If God turns out to be a Korean woman, I would not be surprised at all.
So, James, tell us a little bit about Continua Magazine, and tell us how all of this, your trips to Korea, living in Korea,
Right.
going to the gathering, being in community.
Yeah.
Tell us how that all led into how that became what you are doing with this project, and
Okay.
how you're continuing to facilitate and foster community amongst adoptees.
Cool. So adoptee community is something that like also known as, I noticed them, they were one of the first ones. And then with social media is when things started to really change. I started to meet and interact with adoptees online, via Facebook and Instagram mostly. I did that for a long period of time. And then I kind of I'll tell you what happened. 2016 hit and I deleted all my apps. And
Smart.
And then, but basically, I slowly came back.
You're
when
oh, no,
I said,
my calculator.
Right. But then I realized, oh, okay, I need to talk to my friends. But I had to take a break. And Patrick, what you said about deleting Instagram on the weekend, I think I need to start doing that too. Yeah. So I've noticed, I just want to be involved in community. I started getting asked to write, and contribute pieces to blogs and to, I don't write nearly as much as I want to, but when I'm able to, because I get kind of blocked up, and I don't know. I'm still working on a process to get unblocked, but when it happens, it's cool because I just write. But I try not to force it. Like if I'm not feeling it, I just don't write. I just kind of and that kind of came from. But anyway, so what I found was sharing my writing. Just writing it was hugely beneficial to me. Just getting it out, processing it. I often I'm a much better, clearer communicator in my writing than I am in my speaking. I feel my speaking, I just get so excited, and then it's just, whereas writing is just a little slower, that extra pause. So I really want to write more. So that's what the magazine's about, is really providing a platform for adoptees to just explore who we are, very much like this podcast is sort of let's reach into this chaos with some kind of framework, a podcast framework, and see what we can draw out. And so it's the same thing. And with the magazine, that what I like about it is it's just a magazine's original meaning is just a storehouse. It's just a storehouse of experience, so this should be a storehouse of experience, a storehouse of our truths, a storehouse of our experiences. And it's really important to me that it is our experiences and that they're not co-opted or being leveraged for any other agendas or anything else. So the magazine is, it's very much like, I consider it a project that I, have tried to work on, but I want to bring more people in. And so we have enough. We have a lot of contributors right now. I just want to find a way. I'm working on a business model where we compensate everybody that contributes. I don't care if it's an illustrator or you're helping, with the mailing list or this or that, but we compensate everybody somehow in a fair way, because I just don't. So I'm still working on that. But there's a lot of really interesting models out there in terms of magazines and online content and how to deliver, in terms of subscriptions. And so I'm still working on some of that stuff. But really, it's about the fact that we have so much wisdom. We have so much wisdom, and it's, and it's not a puffed up thing to say. It's just a natural process of taking people, pushing them to the margins and corners of society. And when you take intelligent, bright, sensitive people and do that to them, they're going to be observing things, and they're going to be learning things and processing things. And then it's important that the mainstream listens. And it's also important for us, as sort of having been pushed to the corner, like you're doing now, kind of work to get our centers to center our stories more. And so that's really what the magazine's about too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one more time, what's the magazine called and where can people find it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, can't really find it yet. The first issue will be January of 2022. So next year. The magazine is called Continua. So that's the plural of continuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple continuums is Continua.
That's right.
All right. Cool. So, and you said it's not. You said it's available in January. Is it
in January?
print
Yeah.
or is it?
It's going to be
online?
both. It's going to
Okay,
be
gotcha.
both. At first, I thought a digital because it's just easier to manage, but I just because our lives as adoptees in community are so virtual. Like very rarely do we get to meet in real life, and when we do, it's amazing. But so much of what we do is virtual. It really hit home how important it is to bring this aspects of this community into the real world, the physical world, tactile artifacts of our culture, and
Definitely.
so that's what,
Well, and Nathan, I'm sure you feel this too. Like, as people who work in the digital space, you're like, you can create a graphic or take a picture or whatever, and you're like, oh wow, that's so cool. But then, like, when you see it printed on actual, like, you can hold in your hand, it hits different.
right.
It can be the same thing, but it just hits different when it's printed. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So how can they follow, learn more, support?
Yeah,
Continua?
absolutely. Okay, so we are on Instagram and Twitter. Right now, it's just there's not a lot going on in there. But as we get towards the end of the year, we will probably be doing a little bit of fundraising just to kickstart the maybe GoFundMe for the first issue. But in the meantime, if you need to follow me, if you want to, welcome that. Love to have you. We have on my account the _X_adoptee, and a lot of good conversations. A lot of times I'll just repost other people's things, but a lot of great conversations over the last couple of years.
That's awesome. All right, so the _X_adoptee, right?
That's
Or is there
EX, by the way.
The X.
We will link it in our show notes
That's
so you
right,
can find
that's
it,
right.
and you'll have the Continua linked and
That's
all
right.
the things.
We'll have the link.
Yes,
there.
we'll link it.
That's awesome, James. I think that's such a cool project. Thank you so much for coming on the show, for telling your story, and for really lighting the fire behind and starting this really cool magazine.
Absolutely.
We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be feasting on a snack, right? Right?
Yes,
Is that what?
yes.
Yeah.
There
All
will
right.
be a
Feasting
snack.
on a snack it is. So here's our
Break.
break, and we'll be right back.
We are eating already. No, we are back with the food portion of the Janchi Show. Today, we just had a great interview with James Straker. We have some cookies, though, now that we are going to dive into, although we are still trying to decide on how to pronounce it. So we're
not sure of the name. The
we
appropriate
are not
pronunciation
sure of the name.
Bro
If it's
Noir.
Bro Noir.
Bro Noir sounds like
Bro Noir.
something. It sounds sort of like a special Facebook community or something. I don't know.
I don't know. It's
Bro Noir.
it's the dark bro network. Bro.
No, maybe it's just no, I think it's for the bros who love a good Pinot Noir.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you're.
Yeah.
It makes
See,
me
I
think
was
of
thinking-
cologne.
It's a genre. I was going genre.
I was thinking that's like you could call it the man cave or the bro noir.
the Bro Noir.
that sounds
Yeah.
gross.
Ooh, I like
that.
that.
Sounds
That does sound good. That should be the
That
name
sounds
of like
icky.
a speakeasy or
It
something.
made me think of the cologne Drakkar Noir.
Oh,
Drakkar
there you go.
Noir.
Drakkar Noir. There we go.
There's a
Well,
episode
it is
of Family
a
Guy
brownie chocolate chip cookie for those who can't see, which is everybody.
because it's an audio podcast.
It
not
is an
because we're
audio
calling
podcast.
All of you blind.
Yay. It has all kinds of ingredients that I won't go into.
Hooray!
It is a cookie. What's the
The
company
brownie-
name? CW.
Chocolate
Chongwoo.
chip cookie. That's
Yeah.
what it says.
Chongwoo.
So, and James,
Chongwoo.
what cookie
Yep.
do you have?
So I'm rocking the Chabré, which is, I think it's just a wafer cookie. I wish I had your
like me
cookies.
too.
I wish I had the bro cookies.
I
Oh,
mean,
yours
These
I'm
are
saying
just-
a stable cookie. Oh, that looks good.
See, that looks
These are
pretty
a little
similar
flat.
to that other
Yeah.
one that I held up. The
yeah.
Acapulco or whatever. That's
You know,
not
your
right.
cookie
That's not
looks
right.
like when I bake cookies and I put too much like butter in it or something, and it just becomes a
Right.
super flat cookie.
It just becomes like flat. Yeah.
That's what that.
I mean,
looks
but
like.
the
what happens when
packaging
you
in
put too
yours
much
had a French flag on it, right? So probably
It said
they just-
originated in France, and it has.
yeah, they
it,
probably just did put too much butter in it.
And then
This
my
is
good.
cookie looks like it was too frozen and it didn't puff up. It's just like a
Right.
little round ball almost.
Ooh, this smells good though.
Mm.
Mm.
I like the chocolate inside.
Yep, the chocolate is a great addition to this cookie.
Yeah. That's pretty tasty. There's something else inside there, though.
Okay.
Is there a nut in there?
There's like chocolate
This is
chips.
very good.
There's like chocolate
This
chips.
is. It basically tastes like a little sugar cookie.
There's like chocolate coating, and then there's looks like to be chocolate chips also inside.
Oh, that's
Appeared to
good.
be.
You can't see.
I wish I would
You
have.
guys can't see that.
I wish I would have got that one.
What's
feel
your,
like-
so what is yours tasting like?
Basically, like Nathan said, like a buttery sugar cookie.
I love me a buttery sugar.
Very
cookie.
flat.
Right.
It comes with it came with 5 in the
Oh, that's like the
Nice.
Cosmic cracker.
Ooh.
or 3 or
the
4.
package.
Just because I know KJ is going to rate it, how was yours on opening? Mine opened very easily.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Super easy.
I'm gonna try this on the second time. I keep going American with it, and that's like just not how Koreans open packages apparently. So,
Also
it's
very,
way easier if I just tear it on the side instead of trying
Yeah.
to open it like a Doritos bag.
exactly.
Yeah, tear it on the side. And these are pretty. They're very light and.
Yeah, no, that was a tasty one. I was waiting for Patrick also to just down it in one bite, but
Oh, I did. Well, Yes.
He was showing us the center, so he couldn't
He was.
just
he
go
was
for
trying
it.
to show
Yeah.
you the chocolatey
He
center.
was being modest. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm working on
Emily
it.
was like, "Can you please stop just stuffing your face on the show?"
Never. That's what. And
Does our
Stuff it
cookie
up.
have some like marshmallow in it?
That's
It almost
kind of what I
feels
thought,
good,
but I
like a
looked at
marshmallow
the
consistency.
ingredients. It's just like some thicker chocolate things, and it's got some hazelnut in it too. So I cannot give this to my kids.
Oh yeah.
because They do not like. I think they're allergic to hazelnut, but they had an issue with Nutella.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They had an issue with one of our other snacks. Didn't
Yeah, that had peanuts in it. So
Mm.
they also have an
So-
issue with peanuts.
they? No nuts for you.
No nuts for you.
nuts. We
Nut
are,
allergies.
We are
Yeah,
nut
we are
free.
avoiding the nuts. Well, actually, we're, I guess, as they say, giving them a little bit at a time. We're trying to work up their tolerance.
Gotcha.
Ah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Smart.
And whenever
Yeah.
we do that, it always reminds me of The Princess Bride, where he has the poison and he goes, "Over the
Oh,
years, I've taken a
yes.
little bit of poison so that I have become immune to it." Or something.
Yeah. I was gonna make a.
That's
joke
essentially
that
what
I
we're doing.
Probably
We're giving him a
shouldn't
little
make
bit of
on air.
nuts so that he's not allergic anymore.
That makes sense. For him, it is like poison. So it is
Yeah,
kind of the same
very
thing.
much. Yeah.
All right, what do you
Never
think?
trust
What do
a
you,
big button to smile.
out of 5 chocolates, what are you giving this, Nathan?
Oh, I mean, it was. I have no. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Okay.
I think for me, as cookies go, I actually like a little crunchier cookie. I think a little crispier. So I think if
That's a pretty high rating, though.
It's a pretty high rating. I think if it was a little, because the flavor was really good. The chocolate
Okay.
was good in the inside. If it was just a little crispier, I might give it a little bit extra. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, Nathan
I
needs that crunky.
I need some crunky.
KJ?
What did you give it? A 4.5?
4.5. Yeah.
Wow, that's
High.
really high. I would give it like 3 3/4. It's like
Alright.
it's pretty good. It's not amazing.
Yeah.
It is like I need a liquid with it, like a coffee would go great with it.
Right.
It just is. Yeah. Okay. I hear you. Just slurp that right into the microphone, buddy.
Dutch Brothers. Sorry.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. So I don't like a cookie that makes me feel like I need something else to enjoy it.
Right.
But as it is, I think it's pretty good. So 3 3/4 for my general. I don't love sweets, but it's
Yeah,
pretty good.
that's pretty good for
Well,
your
that is
sweet
pretty
rating.
good for you. I'm going to give it a 4.75.
Oh,
wow.
I freaking like
Dang.
these. They are very good. The only thing that's keeping it from a 5 is I wish it was a little more substantial. I was a
A
little,
little
bit
bigger.
a little
Yeah.
bit bigger. But I really like these, and I was gonna wait till after the episode, but for full disclosure, Nathan sent us multiples of these and multiples of other snacks, and we've been waiting a very long time to eat these, and I've been staring at them, and so I already ate one. So,
Oh.
and it was very good. It was at a time where I really needed a snack, and it was great. So I've already pre-rated this.
You have history with this snack, so you're bringing some.
I literally
it's benefiting from your prior history. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to like somehow seal these so that Patrick can't get to him until the shoe.
You gotta. I felt kind of. I really did feel bad when I was eating it. I was like, and one time I picked it up and then put it down because I was like, no, he'll be mad. And then like 3 weeks went by, and I was like, we're never gonna eat this. So I'm just gonna eat one of them.
Patrick, you cheated on the food portion of the Janchi.
I mean, it's pretty hard to have a box of cookies just in front of you for 3 weeks, though. That's asking a lot.
I did a pre-test, but it was 4.75. Great cookie.
Nice.
James, what about yours?
Nice.
What about the
sabre? I would say I would give it a good 3.75.
Okay.
It's delicious, just very simple. I like the fact that they give you 4. They're very thin, but it's just very plain, so I'm not going to score it like something.
Sure.
The degree of difficulty was just not worth. I can't.
Yeah.
I
can't go any higher.
It needs a chocolate center like ours.
Yeah. I mean, we've all watched the gymnastics routines. You know, there's execution, but then there's also the difficulty.
Right. It was like this. If this was a gymnastics routine, wonderfully conceived routine, just executed wonderfully. Just can't go very high. Just the degree of difficulty. It's just not hard to pull this off. Sorry. Look,
I like that metaphor.
Like a sundae without the whipped cream and cherry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Isn't that just ice cream?
No, it's just I was gonna say. I was like,
with a banana
and some sauce.
It's a
banana split.
That sounds pretty good. Oh, that's a banana split.
I
don't know what a sundae is.
I'm sorry I brought up that metaphor.
Sunday is a day of the week that ends in Y.
It's the right time to bring that up though on the food portion. What is a sundae and a banana split? All right. Well, James, it's been a real pleasure to have you here today. One more time, tell us where we can follow you at, where we can follow Continua.
Absolutely. You can follow me at _X_adoptee. And on Instagram, it's Continua_mag.
Perfect. You can follow me at Patrick in the World. And that's it. Nathan?
I am Nowak on Instagram.
And I am at KJ Rilke wherever I want to be found. And if you want to write in and tell the Janchi Boys what a Sunday is, you can send us a message to janchishow@justlikemedia.com or find us on all of our social platforms at Janchi Show. Or you can leave it as a review. Honestly, if you just give us like 5 stars and say, this is what a Sunday is, and then explain a Sunday, that would be fantastic. Honestly, if you leave us a review and it has nothing to do with the show, here for it. All right.
If you leave us the Sunday recipe on a review, we'll read it on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I love those crazy.
I think you got to make it. I think you got to make them and enjoy them.
I put in the elbow
Follow the recipe online on the live demo. Yeah, it'd be beautiful.
I love it. Well,
fantastic.
All right.
Thank you again, James, for sharing everything.
I really appreciate it. And I've been listening to the show, been a fan, and just the name. Like, I just want to tell you guys, you picked a great name just because it means celebration and party.
We did it, everyone. Thank you. That is the end of the Janchi Show. We can all go home now.
You're the first person to comment on the name and compliment
really?
on the name. So.
Well, because I study Korean and I've been studying Korean for a long time now, and so like I recognize it right away. And I was like, and I remember you guys talking about that. You wanted it to be a party where it celebrates our who we are and the things we go through and the many, many wonderful people in this community. Absolutely. I love it.
Well,
thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you. And thank
you, listeners.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Thank you, Janchi people.
Good night.
Thank you to the Janchi people. We'll be back next Wednesday. Goodbye.
Janchi, hey.